So, good evening, everyone. So, today's session is about interview experience of Prateeksha at TISS Mumbai. So, Prateeksha, you can start and give a brief introduction about yourself, and then you can start. The floor is yours.
Thank you, sir, for this opportunity. Uh, Good morning, sir, and good morning, everyone here. I am Prateeksha Pandey from Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh, and in 2022, I completed my BA with honors in sociology. And after that, for a few months, I prepared for civil services. Then I decided that I want to proceed in academic field. So I gave GATE examination, and simultaneously I gave TISS entrance as well. And there I applied for two niche courses like regulatory policy and governance and community organization development practice. So recently I am done with my interviews of both the courses. So today I will share my experience that how was my interview and what all questions they asked and how it went. So first of all, I would like to mention here about my CODP course, that is Master in Social Work, Community Organization Development Practice. So, what happens in TISS is that their online assessment process is of two stage. First one is they conduct extempore, and second is the personal interview. So for extempore, they gave me this topic since I come from sociology background. So and also they give you a detailed application form where they ask certain questions like why are you interested in the course and what is your what is right about yourself and what is the relevant work you have done as per the course. So since I had mentioned that I come from sociology background, so they gave me this topic: recurring crime against women shows character of society we live in. So it was a topic related to women and crime and the society. So I presented my views, and I started from ancient perspective that since ancient times we have various evidences that these all crimes happened against women. Like in Mahabharata, there was a Chirharan of Draupadi, and then accordingly from ancient to medieval to present times, I presented all the knowledge I had. And then I also mentioned one data which I had read that during COVID-19 we have seen that as per National Commission of Women, there was double reporting of domestic violence cases. So like these, all the data which I had, the knowledge which I had, I presented, and I concluded with my viewpoints that it represents the character of society. If the crimes still are going high, and there are several sexual assault cases in workplace as well. So I presented all my views, and then my interview started. So there were three panelists. So first panelist asked me that where do I come from. So I told him about Bhopal and Madhya Pradesh. Then he asked me about my academic background, and then he asked why opting for social work. Since CODP is a Master of Social Work course, so he asked that why social work? Since you have studied sociology, now why switching to social work? So I gave my interest ideas that I had worked as NSS volunteer in my college. So I developed interest in social work, and I also told him that my experiences like doing Nukkad Natak for creating awareness, educating children. So all these things I mentioned. Then there was this question, how since in my last answer I said this statement that by social work we can empower people. So he asked follow-up question to this, that how do you empower people by social work? So I gave him example through, I explained through an example, like I told that our college had adopted a slum area, that is Ishwar Nagar Basti, which is beside behind our college. So we used to go there and conduct several activities, like we used to teach students on daily basis as coaching, and we used so through education and creating awareness we can empower people. So I gave this idea of mine. Then I felt that he is now satisfied, and also he asked that what are all other courses I had applied at this. Then second panelist asked me, since I belong to this Barkatullah University, my college is affiliated to Barkatullah University. So that second panelist asked me that who was Mr. Barkatullah. Now I was not very much aware who was Barkatullah, so I told him that sorry sir, I am not aware of him. So then he asked which paper you were interested in your sociology graduation. So whatever papers I found interesting, I told him that I found Introduction to Sociology first paper very interesting, because it gave the basic idea that how sociology started, and I was also interested in Indian society paper. So I told about both the papers and gave certain idea of mine.
Right.
He asked, "Can you name some Indian sociologists?" Since there were several follow-up questions, because in my last answer I mentioned that I enjoyed Indian society paper. So he asked me about Indian sociologists. So I gave several names like G.S. Gure and Yogendra Singh, D.P. Mukherjee, and Radha Kamal Mukherjee. So I gave certain names. M.N. Srinivas. I also mentioned M.N. Srinivas. So he smiled and he asked, okay, mention some works of M.N. Srinivas. So I mentioned about M.N. Srinivas works like his theory of dominant caste, his work of Sanskritization, and his idea of villages, that he studied Indian villages. So I told all these things. Then he asked that what do you mean by Sanskritization? So I explained Sanskritization definition, and then he asked any social worker who inspires you most. So I since I was prepared for this question, so I told him about Mrs. Ela Bhatt, who recently died in 2022, and she was very firm social workers. She has organized this Seva organization, socially self-empowered women association, where women are like they do some job so that they can become financially independent. So I liked her idea of this empowering women by financial empowerment, and I presented my view that I like this social worker so much. Then third panelist asked me name, since I had mentioned about Indian sociologists, and I was constantly talking about women and women empowerment. So that ma'am asked me that mention any name of female Indian sociologists. So since in sociology we have very few female Indian sociologists, so I was able to recall only one name, Iravati Karve, who is also known as the first Indian female sociologist. So she asked me about their work. So at that point, I was not able to recall her work. So I told her that sorry, ma'am, I'm not able to recall. Then there was this question: what were reasons for separation? Since I come from MP, so she asked that what are the reasons for separation of MP from Chhattisgarh? So I was not well versed this topic, but I took permission from her that if you allow me, then I can guess. Then she allowed me, and I guessed 2-3 points like administration angle, and if for the effective administration of both the regions, because MP and Chhattisgarh together make a huge area, so it is not possible to administer them judiciously. So I mentioned about administration point, and then I mentioned about the tribal population, the variety of culture, And then I mentioned about that how administration was not working properly, and because of that, Naxalism was getting emerging in that region. So I mentioned about all these things whichever came in my mind, and then my interview was over. It was around 25 to 30 minutes, and the panelists were so supportive. So this was my experience of MSW CODP interview. And sir, shall I now talk about another course, or we need to discuss something?
Yes, just one or 2 points just I have to mention. So actually, as before I interacted with you, the most important thing what I have heard about your answers, that is you when you answered now. So in all those questions, you cited one example. That is the most important thing. I am telling you all. Okay, ये सबसे बड़ा एक पॉजिटिव एटीट्यूड होता है। कोई भी आंसर जो तुम बोलोगे ना इंटरव्यू में, अगर वही क्वेश्चन का आंसर तुम एक एग्जाम्पल ड्रॉ करोगे, ओके, अगर तुम कर पाओगे तो दैट विल बी ए पॉजिटिव इम्पैक्ट एंड यू विल क्रिएट सम इम्प्रेशन, ओके, सो that may increase your chances to get selected into IITs. Okay, so all of you will get many more chances to appear for your interview in different IITs. So you can note this point, only this point you should remember, you should take a note on this point. Okay, कुछ भी आंसर तुम अगर बोल रहे हो और बोल रही हो जो भी है, ओके, एक एग्जाम्पल अगर तुम ड्रॉ कर पाओगे, साइट कर पाओगे ना, सो दैट विल क्रिएट समथिंग. सो प्रिपेयर अकॉर्डिंग टू दिस पॉइंट, राइट. ये सबसे बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट चीज होता है, ठीक है. तो ये चीज मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा, ठीक है. तो बाद में बात करेंगे और भी questions students will ask you. Okay, so you can start for the next what was your interview experience for the next program, and what was the name of that program, and then you can uh, share your experience. Okay,
Okay,
go
sir.
on.
So the second program was regulatory policy and governance. So it is a very unique program, and which is only offered by TISS in India. So it is about how regulation policy we frame, and how the governance aspect of regulation is there. For better understanding, I would like to mention for some of the regulatory bodies which we all have somewhere heard about, like Reserve Bank of India, National Green Tribunal, Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, and Competition Commission of India. Recently, there was one case of Google and Competition Commission of India. So these are the regulatory bodies, and the regulation aspect of policy and governance. So this is this is all about this course. Now. When I entered the meeting room, first they asked me about my introduction. Then they gave me my extempore topic. That is, firstly they gave me.
Prateeksha, 1 second. Just explain to my viewers and to my students what is extempo. I know this, but just could you please say something about it? Just 1 line and 2 lines. What is extempo?
So extempore को हिंदी में तात्कालिक भाषण भी कहा जाता है. So इसमें we get a topic, and we get only few seconds, like 1 minute for thinking about it, and then we have to speak for 2 to 3 minutes. 2 minutes we have to talk about the topic, and for 1 minute we need to conclude, and we need to conclude our viewpoint on that topic. So this is all about extempore. So they judge you on the basis of what kind of viewpoints you present. Do you cover all the dimensions, the positive, negative, and future aspects of the subject? So they judge you on these points. So this is all about extempore.
Okay, go on, go on.
So they gave me first topic, that is that was about Dalit month, something like that. I was not able to comprehend it very effectively, so I asked for second topic, because in TISS we are allowed to go for two topic, and we can then decide whichever topic we want to speak on. So he gave me second topic, that was discuss same-sex marriage in India. Now, why they gave me this topic is because of the current affairs. Recently, there is a debate going on same-sex marriage in Supreme Court also. The Solicitor General of India is also involved in the debate and discussion. So they gave me this topic. Then I mentioned whatever I had studied about same-sex marriage in India, the global perspective of on same-sex marriage, the legality aspect, all these things, whatever I had studied, I mentioned there. Then the first panelist asked me about why regulatory policy and governance. So whatever answer I had prepared, I had prepared it prior to my interview. So I gave all the viewpoints that during my college years, while studying sociology and political science, I developed interest in policy and governance. And also I mentioned that during my college year, I started reading newspaper. And while reading newspaper, I used to come around these news about Telecom Regulatory Authority of India and RBI work and all the regulatory bodies. So it interested me, and there was curiosity in me that how these bodies work. And it is very good to know that because of regulation, we are able to sustain our growth to some extent at least. So I present all my viewpoint, and second, my personal viewpoint also was there that since in my locality, I have seen that people generally don't prefer to send their girl child for higher studies to another state or to another place. So I mentioned that if I get a chance to study at TISS, then in my locality, people thinking will change, and girls will also get this chance to study in another state, or for higher studies they can go outside of their home. So I presented all my viewpoints. Then he asked me that what do you understand by regulation? So I was prepared for this question as well. So I mentioned that what according to me is regulation. Then he asked me that where do you see yourself after doing this course? So I presented my viewpoints that I would like to work with regulatory bodies after the course. And yeah, I also presented this view that if during the course, if I get interest in the research work, then I will love to do research in this area as well. So then he felt satisfied, and then he transferred to second panelist. Now second panelist was a ma'am. So she asked about since she heard that whatever I had discussed in my extempore topic, so her first question was related to that only, that what difference will be there if same-sex marriage is legalized, then what the same-sex couple will enjoy, what legality aspect they will enjoy. So whatever I had read, I have mentioned that about the adoption factor and all these things. Then then second question she asked, it was very big question. First she gave some background that there are homeless people in our India, and many people do petty things like they beg, and begging is a criminal act. So all these things she presented, and she gave several information, and then asked that what is your viewpoint on this. So first of all, since I was not aware about this thing that begging is a criminal act, so I first of all thanked her. Thank you, ma'am, for this information. I was not aware about it. And then I proceed with my answer. Whatever I had in my head, I presented that answer. Although I was not able to speak effectively on that question, but I handled the situation accordingly. Then there was this question that it was last question from her side, that what is the Gandhiji's idea of development. So I spoke about Gandhiji's idea of development because of his idea, like government also came up with this Antyodaya mission. he wanted that development should reach the last member of the society, and about his Gram Swaraj, and that the governance should be given to the hands of villages. He talked about that the real India resides in villages. So I presented all the viewpoints about Gandhiji idea of development. Then after that, I was transferred to third panelist. He asked that what is the difference between Gandhiji's idea of development and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's idea of development. Now, I was not very well versed with this topic, so I told him, sorry, sir, I'm not able to recall. Then the second question he asked, since I had mentioned in my introduction that I love traveling. So his question was related to that if you like traveling, so tell us the statistics of tourism of MP and what is the contribution of MP in India's tourism. So I was not aware about the proper statistics of tourism, but I started my answer like this: that MP has huge forest cover in all over India, and it is known for its world UNESCO heritage site like Bhimbetka and Khajuraho temples. And I mentioned all the tourist places of MP, whatever I can recall. I mentioned about Narmada River. I mentioned about Amarkantak. Then I mentioned about the national parks in Madhya Pradesh. So I concluded my answer accordingly by telling that, sorry, sir, I don't know exact statistics of the tourism sector. So then he asked me that, tell me whatever you have studied in your undergrads about Dalits. So, in my sociology third year, I had studied about these social movements. So there was Dalit movement. So whatever I had studied during that time, I was able to recall few points. So I mentioned about all the things, and also I used my UPSC knowledge about Jyotiba Rao Phule, Savitribai Phule, and their contribution, Dr. Ambedkar contribution, and the constitution aspect of providing rights to Dalits and abolition of untouchability, and all these things, whatever came in my head, I presented all my viewpoints, and he also felt like he is satisfied, and then my interview was over. So my both interviews were, I'm thinking that they were absolutely very good, and the interaction aspect was very good. The panelists were so nice, they were so cordial that they made all the interviews so comfortable, and they make you so comfortable that you can present your views and without any hesitation. So this was my experience of interview at this.
Interesting, and thank you Prateeksha for this. Okay, so 5 पॉइंट मुझे बोलना है इस इंटरव्यू एक्सपीरियंस के बारे में। एक तो है जो मुझे दिखा है ना, तो वो सबसे शायली आई थिंक यू आर देयर, सो प्लीज नोट दिस 5 पॉइंट्स, दिस विल हेल्प यू अ लॉट, राइट? सो प्रतीक्षा, जो फास्ट चीज मुझे सबसे अच्छा लगा वो है पॉजिटिविटी। ओके, तो जो मुझे सबसे अच्छा लगा वो पॉजिटिविटी, हर एक आंसर। तो एज आई इंटरेक्टेड विथ यू, सो ऐसा दिखना नहीं चाहिए तुम ऐसे सोच रही हो और सोच रहा हो, कुछ ऐसा नहीं चाहिए, ठीक है? इंटरव्यू के टाइम थोड़ा पॉजिटिव रहना, एंड लाइक यू व्हाट यू आर सेइंग ना, इट्स रिफ्लेक्टिंग ऑन दैट पर्टिकुलर एलिमेंट। ओके, पॉजिटिविटी वो दिख रहा है मुझे। सो इट इज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग दैट इफ यू आर कॉन्फिडेंट, so then this element will help you a lot. And second element is that I want to say the confidence level. Confidence level इतना अच्छा है, नहीं तो ये ओवर कॉन्फिडेंस है, नहीं तो वो अंडररेटेड कॉन्फिडेंस है। जितना चाहिए एक कैंडिडेट के अंदर वही देखा। तो एज आई इंटरेक्टेड यू अर्लियर, राइट? तो वही चीज मुझे बोलना था, ओके, रात में। तो वो चीज मुझे अच्छा लगा। और दूसरा बात ये है एग्जाम्पल, ऑलरेडी मैंने मेंशन किया एग्जाम्पल। अगर कोई किसी ने पूछा कोई क्वेश्चन, ओके, कंडीशन बेस, किसी ने कंडीशन दिया है, कोई प्रोफेसर ऐसा हो सकता है कंडीशन दे सकता है ऐसा ऐसा हो रहा है सोसाइटी में, ओके, किसी जगह में, लिटरेचर में, तो how you will solve that problem, okay? What will be your opinion, what will be your view? तो अगर तुम एक एग्जाम्पल ड्रॉ करोगे तो इट विल हेल्प देम। ओके, हाँ, ये इस कैंडिडेट के अंदर वो चीज है, ओके, प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग कैपेबिलिटी है, वो सबसे बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट चीज होता है। और एक चीज है वो जो पोलाइटनेस, ठीक है, इतना कॉन्फिडेंस मत दिखाओ जब उन लोगों को थोड़ा मतलब एरोगेंट ऐसा, मतलब तुम एरोगेंट हो ऐसा फील नहीं होना चाहिए, तो थोड़ा पोलाइटनेस चाहिए, ठीक है। आई नो यू हैव एक्सपीरियंस, यू हैव नॉलेज, इफ यू हैव लाइक नॉलेज एट दैट लेवल इन ग्रेजुएशन और मास्टर्स, सो थोड़ा पोलाइटनेस दिखना चाहिए, ठीक है। वही चीज मैंने भी किया IIT कानपुर में, वो हमारा सबसे बड़ा इंटरव्यू था लाइफ में। जो भी मैं सीखा हूँ वो उस इंटरव्यू से, IIT कानपुर में 2019 में जून जुलाई सीजन में मैंने इंटरव्यू दिया था। मेरा पैनल में था 23 प्रोफेसर, एक दो नहीं 23 था वो। वहां पे 3-4 राउंड फिल्टर होता है, फर्स्ट रिटेन टेस्ट, देन फर्स्ट राउंड इंटरव्यू, देन सेकंड राउंड इंटरव्यू, देन ग्रैंड इंटरव्यू होता है, ठीक है। ग्रैंड इंटरव्यू में पूरे पैनल मतलब डिपार्टमेंट जितने सारे प्रोफेसर है वो सारे एक साथ रहेंगे, ठीक है। तुम जहाँ पे होता है ना वो जो सिनेमा हॉल जैसा जो होता है, ओके, तो तुम नीचे जहाँ पे बेड, सॉरी, जहाँ पे वो बोर्ड होता है, तो उस जगह पे तुम रहोगे और बाकी सारे प्रोफेसर ऊपर स्टेडियम में सारे क्वेश्चन एक एक करके क्वेश्चन करेंगे, तो बैक टू बैक यू हैव टू फेस दैट कंसिक्वेंसेस। सो इट वाज माय लाइक वैसे इंटरव्यू था, लाइव में इतना बड़ा इंटरव्यू मैंने कभी नहीं दिया, तो वो मेरा सबसे अच्छा इंटरव्यू एक्सपीरियंस था। तो मैंने एक चीज गलत किया, जो प्रोफेसर सिलेक्शन करना था उसमें मैंने एक चीज गलत किया था, तो क्योंकि उतना एक्सपीरियंस नहीं था उस टाइम, तो ठीक है। और एक चीज मुझे बोलना है, ऑनेस्टी, वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होता है। ऑनेस्टी इज इंपॉर्टेंट, क्योंकि देखो जो आंसर तुम्हें पता नहीं है, जस्ट से इन दिस वे, आई एम सॉरी, आई एम नॉट एबल टू रिकॉल दिस, ओके। तो ये चीज इंपॉर्टेंट है, जो तुम्हें पता नहीं है इधर उधर घुमा फिरा के मत बोलो, डायरेक्ट बोल दो, सॉरी बोलो, और सेकेंड क्वेश्चन में मूव ऑन करो, ठीक है, ये चीज। तो आई थिंक और दिस इज माय ऑब्जर्वेशन